All right, let's welcome Crushers GC captain Bryson DeChambeau to the Media Center. So Bryson, you won your most recent LIV Golf event in Korea, finished top 5 in each of the last 5 worldwide starts, including the T2 at the PGA. So what's going through your mind right now during this impressive run of form, starting the second half of the LIV Golf season, U.S. Open next week?
Yeah, I've been playing some great golf recently. My game's in good form. Golf swing feels pretty solid. A lot of it's just more the same for me right now, continuing to improve on little things that I know I can. When something gets off, I focus on getting that back to my standards. And then continue to just put pedal to the metal as hard as I can with these golf courses and give myself a lot of opportunities to win. That's the goal in this great game, is to win these tournaments, and I don't come here to finish second, as I hope no one else out here does the same. And for me, it's just more of the same.
So besides playing incredible golf, you've had time for a bunch of side quests.
I've been doing some fun side quests, yes, there's no doubt.
So you've had the trip around the track at the Indy 500.
That's right.
Helicopter ride. You were hitting golf balls at the White House. So I have a two-part question for you. A, how do you find time to sleep? And B, do you always sleep in Crushers apparel?
Yeah, I would say that I don't sleep in Crushers apparel, but it's fun to show that off. Just give people a different perspective, entertainment. How do I find time to sleep? I actually sleep quite well. It's a lot of planning. We prepare, strategize, and execute accordingly with these game plans and when things work based on other people's schedules. Flying the helicopter and going to the salt flats in Utah for Bucked Up was really fun. And then hitting golf balls off the salt flats. I literally picked up salt from the salt flats, and I have it in my house. I'm using it for some of the meals I'm using, so I'm literally using it, which is really cool. Hitting in the White House was incredibly special. I never thought I'd ever in my life get an opportunity to do that, but the president himself was like, just go out there and hit some shots. I'm like, okay, yes, sir. So it was quite the experience. It was 105 yards and hit a few good shots to a couple feet, and almost made a few of them too. But I'd say a lot of it's just preparation, making sure that I can get the right rest so I'm ready for the next day, and I still got to do my job, which is make sure my game is in top form. So I monitor that, and if I'm not hitting the ball very well, I focus more on that, and if I'm hitting it really well, I focus more on some side quests.
Excellent. Well, listen, we'll open it up for questions to the media. If you have a question, please raise your hand and wait for the microphone. We'll start here to the right.
Hey, Bryson, kind of a two-parter. What would you say your evolution has been both as a player and a person since joining LIV? And the follow-up would be, to what do you attribute your massive following on your YouTube channel, which is now north of 2 million subscribers?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think LIV afforded me the opportunity to spend more time thinking, strategizing, getting my body healthy, ready for majors in a pretty unique way. For me, it was a great thing. I thought there was an opportunity to do other things in life, and look, do I want to win every single tournament I show up to? 100%. I'm never not going to be the hardest competitor out there, in my perspective. But it also allowed me to do other things which are meaningful as well. And I think creating my YouTube channel was something that I've always wanted to do, seeing what Mr. Beast and Dude Perfect had done in the mid 2010s. And I said, why can't I do that as well? I think there's an opportunity to be as influential as I am now, and this is just the beginning. I think there's a lot more to come. And I hope that's a positive force for the game of golf, because that was my initiative with the game of golf is that, yeah, I want to win a lot of tournaments, but how can I make a greater impact as well than just winning golf tournaments? And now that I've got a couple million followers on YouTube, I mean, I'm incredibly grateful. There's no other words about it. Did I ever think it would get this big? I had no clue. I really had no idea. Is it now an incredible responsibility? Yes. And I understand that. I want to continue to entertain my fans and continue to play the great game of golf that we all love at the highest level. I want to compete. I want to compete, and I want to entertain. Those are the two things that I love doing, and it's quite an honor.
All right, right here, Matt.
Bryson, can you talk a little bit about the golf course this week, the condition, the setup, and how that might be a good way to prepare for the U.S. Open?
Well, the rough out here at RTJ is really long, so it's a great setup for next week. You've got to drive the ball well out here. It is a bit of a bomber's paradise, but you have to hit the fairway. So it's going to test our driving ability for next week, which I think will play nicely into the U.S. Open. The greens are in great shape. They're rolling well. They'll get faster as the week goes on. And, yeah, I think this is a great setup for Oakmont next week.
You won at Congressional as an amateur. Do you see any comparisons with the Robert Trent Jones design of this course and that course?
Yeah, Congressional, you said?
Yeah.
No, so I won at Olympia Fields as an amateur.
Olympia Fields,
but
sorry.
Olympia Fields is very reminiscent still of this golf course. Tight fairways, you've got to drive it well, old school design. So it reminds me quite well of that, and I like Northeast golf. I've always played well in the North, even in Chicago, and I won a LIV event in Chicago, and so I've played some incredible golf in these areas in this type of style with the bent greens. Suits my game well.
Yeah, Ridgewood, yep. Yes.
Ridgewood as well.
Yeah.
I've played well up in the Northeast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right here to the right.
Bryson, congrats on your earned success and all the best this week.
Yeah, thank you.
To follow up to my colleague's question about this track, have you been able to test the conditions this week?
Yeah, I have. So played 9 holes yesterday. The greens are firming up. I hit an 8-iron on number 4 yesterday that rolled out. It was like 8-9 yards. So it is firming up, and it's becoming a good, tough test of golf. If the wind picks up, this is going to be a brutal test. But the front 9 is pretty sweet. I haven't seen the back 9 yet. I know it's along the water, and that'll be cool visuals to have as well. But it's gettable, but also difficult, and a challenging test on the par 3s. You have to hit the fairway, and if not, you're going to be in the bunkers or in the long rough, and it's going to be a tough test of golf.
And are you your expectations this weekend? The MV crowd, it's a year and a half since the last tournament in Virginia, 40 miles or 40 minutes from here.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on crowd atmosphere this week?
I think the crowd atmosphere is going to be electric. Personally, I'm excited to see the fans out here, and hopefully they can cheer me on, cheer the Crushers on as hard as we possibly can. You got to remember, it's not just about me as well. I mean, my team, the Crushers, we've been playing well. They won last week, so I've got to give my hats off to them and how hard they've been working to play as good as they can. And I want them up there competing for the individual championship as well. But the crowds are going to be great. I hope they're rooting the Crushers on, and I know they will be. And I'm excited to see them out here this week.
All right.
Bryson, you have tried to make yourself relatable to the average golfer. What advice could you give to the average golfer about executing tough shots under pressure? Like, what was on your mind last year at Pinehurst when you faced that bunker shot?
Yeah, a lot of it's trying a bunch of weird stuff in practice, going out and putting yourself in an awkward situation. And I think for amateurs alike, they need to experience that. Even though they may not execute it or complete it, they still have to try it out. And so they can get comfortable with their hand-eye coordination of, I've got to swing a little weird this time or do something different. The best piece of advice I can give them is just practice in unique, weird situations for, maybe an hour a week, 15 minutes one of these days and 20 minutes another day or whatever. But try to be different and don't just hit the same stock shot every time. Once you get a stock shot down and you're comfortable with it, go have some fun. Do a chipping contest with your amateur friends and throw it in the bunker from 50 yards or throw it in a bush and see if you can get out. And stuff to that extent has suited my game very well. It's allowed me to be an artist in my head, as much as I am a robot, and try to swing it as straight as possible and as just stable as possible. I still do have to hit cuts and draws and hit weird shots every once in a while. So I think giving myself those opportunities in the bunker, in the bush, whatever, has only aided in my golf career. So for amateurs, I would say go try some weird shots, have some fun.
All right, right here in front.
Yeah, Bryson, right here. I had a question about the evolution of the Bryson Fan. You said, you've been really engaging with them, but in the past, maybe they were the same hat that you had that you could identify, and now they may be following you. And with the LIV Golf concept, they're not here for practice rounds, so when you first see them, it's a competitive round. What is that experience like? Or do you have to say, look, I can't engage quite as much during a round like this?
No.
Or is it, can you talk about the experience as, engaging with fans, but it's in a competitive way?
A great question. I think it allows us to prepare for the fans better. We get a lot of work done a lot quicker, which has been nice for us. And then when they get here, they're excited to see the competition. And I like to feed off of the crowd. And I know a lot of guys out here do the same. So being able to sign autographs, we do sign before and we sign after still. We still take care of the fans in that capacity. But they're excited. They haven't seen us. It's a real round of golf, and look, it's great to come out to a practice round, but we're actually working. So for us, it actually helps us focus more on the fans during competition. We're able to provide more entertainment for them because we know that's our job, and we've prepared the entire week to show off our skill sets during that competition. So I think for us, it's a better model. We like it, and for me, it's definitely helped me become more of a showman and realizing, okay, today's the day. Today's a day where I've got to entertain, and it's boded well for a lot of us. And I like the concept. I love it, and glad to be a part of it.
Right here.
Bryson, nobody's gone back-to-back at the U.S. Open since Koepka did it. How are you approaching next week at Oakmont with that in mind, that you can be a back-to-back winner?
Yeah, I think. Look, I'm always chasing history. Everybody is. We're all trying to accomplish feats that haven't been done in a long time, and going back-to-back would be great. 3 in a row would be an even better accomplishment. So it is in the back of my head. How am I preparing for it? Just like I would any other tournament. Just like I did last year at Pinehurst, focusing on executing the right shots, hitting the fairways, not 3-putting next week. That's going to be a big deal. And keeping out of the rough. Not much more than that. I try to keep it simple.
Right here. Right here.
Hey, Bryson. Going back to the 2015 U.S. Amateur, after your win, you described one of the most important things as playing Bryson golf. And you described it as not what people would think. It was more of maximizing the artistry of the game and not the technical side. So 10 years later, what is Bryson golf now? And is that something you still try to remind yourself of in big moments?
I think I answered that earlier, of being a bit of an artist and still going and doing these weird chip shots and bushes and bunkers, and it still stays true today. My mechanics are my mechanics, and I try to repeat them as much as possible when I practice. When I get to the golf course, it's pretty fluid. How am I going to get this ball in the fairway? I'm still going to try and hit my same shot, stock shot of a draw, but when it requires you to hit a cut or whatever, I have to do it, right? You hit it lower or under the wind, you still got to do it. So from my perspective, yeah, that hasn't changed from the 2015 U.S. Amateur. Have I pivoted and changed my game a bit and adapted and grown my game? 100%. I'm not the same person I was in 2015. But the inherent basics are still there. Yeah.
Bryson, you're kind of well known for your work ethic and these marathon practice sessions you kind of do.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you can explain to us where that work ethic was born, how it's evolved over time, and are there any early memories or stories you can share of childhood Bryson taking part in these marathon sessions?
Yeah. So when I was a young kid, I was practicing at a golf course called Riverbend. It's now called Dragonfly. I practiced at Belmont as well, in Fresno, California, Madera, California. And I had a coach at the time that was awesome, and Mike has been an inspiration and incredible for me growing up as a kid to just practice and do what I needed to do to get better. He may not have had all the answers, but he led me towards the right answers, and I learned that work ethic was the most important thing. A Ben Hogan quote stuck out to me one day when I was reading one of his books, is that a day that you aren't practicing is another day somebody else is getting better than you. That's kind of what initiated, okay, you've got to work really hard. And consequently, when I realized other kids were better than me by practicing less hours, I quickly started to realize I have to work harder and harder and harder. And it got to this place where it was 8 hours a day of practice on Saturdays, 8 to 9 hours of practice, hitting golf balls. There were Saturdays where I'd count golf ball buckets and see if I could get over 1,000 balls in a day. And I did it a few times where my hands were cut up, they were bleeding, they were messed up, and I had to recover for a few days. So I realized going all in one day wasn't necessarily the best mode of practice, but I did do it. I did have a time frame of okay, got 8, 9 hours, let's hit 1,000 balls in a day, and I accomplished that feat numerous times. And I think it just became a bit of an obsession of how do I get better than others, because I wasn't the best in California growing up. You had guys like Patrick Grimes and Paul Smith and Patrick Rogers, and Bo Hostler, numerous others that were continually just better than me. And they would practice, from what I could see, not even close to as much as me. So I had to learn over time how to become more efficient with my practice, but I also instilled a deep-rooted, hard-working mentality of dig it out of the dirt, like Ben Hogan said. And that's where it stemmed from. It stemmed from me not being as good as others, and then realizing I can only be as good as how hard I work. And so I just became obsessed with hitting crazy amounts of golf balls. And over the course of time, I learned how to become more efficient and better. And yeah, there are times where I hit 200, 300 balls in a day trying to figure something out. It's getting less. I'm learning a lot more. Hopefully I don't have to do that as much anymore. But that work ethic remains from as a kid growing up, realizing I wasn't as good as others. This was around 13 I became interested in practicing harder. 15 is when I really started practicing a crazy amount of hours. And yeah, I didn't have time for any other outside activities. I definitely lost a lot of my childhood practicing golf, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
All right. Anybody else have questions? All right. We appreciate the time. Bryson, all the best this
Thanks,
week.
Mike. Appreciate it.